Because if you tried to go, if you said, you know what, I'm going to go to bed tonight, I'm not going to set my alarm clock, I'm going to sleep forever. You can't do it. There's a certain point at which you will wake up.
Right.
Not by your own choice, but by God's design. Okay. Now, from that point, you got a choice. You're going to get up, choose to get up, right? Choose to put on clothes, choose to brush your teeth, choose to do this, choose to do that. You've made hundreds, if not thousands of choices just from the moment you woke up today to get in the seat that you're in right now. Just driving here was a couple hundred choices. Okay? 35,000 conscious choices a day. That scares me because if you extrapolate that over a month, that's 1.1 million conscious choices a month. That's over 12.7 million choices a year. When my daughter is 18 years old, I will have made over 225 million choices that will affect her life. That's just pops. You add mom to that, that's 500 million choices by the time she's 18. That doesn't include friends and family, extended family, and relatives and colleagues and when Milan is 18, there will have been billions of choices that have been made that will affect who she is at age 18. And the person who won't know that is actually Milan. She'll be at 18. Think about when you were 18. What on earth did you know? Okay? When I was 18, I thought I knew a bunch of stuff, right? I didn't realize that I, by and large, was the product of millions and billions of choices that affected who I was, what I believed, what I valued, what I thought was good, what I thought was bad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When I was 18, I was about to graduate from Revere High School, and they had about 1,200 graduates. I mean, not graduates, we had a little over 1,000 graduates, but they had about 1,200 students, 9 through 12. Of those 1,200 students, we had 12 African-American students. 12, okay? 4 of those were adopted by white families, so they grew up in a white environment. So that leaves what, 8? Of those 8, 3 came from moms. You know, my brother and sister. For 2 years, if I wanted to date a sister, it would have had to be my sister. Okay? And we ain't into that. So I grow up on, I tell people I'm from the hood, right? And what I leave off is the Upper West Side, white, suburban, middle-class neighborhood. We don't have to say all that. It takes too long. But that was me as an 18-year-old. I grew up in a very prominent family. And I didn't really know anything much about race, about issues of diversity, about inclusion, about any of that kind of stuff. And it wasn't abnormal to me because it's all I knew. It was all the choices in the environment that made me who I was and what I was at age 18. So I go to Kent State University, 18 years old, and I started to see all kinds of different races, all kinds of different ethnicities, all kinds of different people that thought different ways, that had millions of choices that made them who they were. I remember when I was asked to join Black United Students. And I was like, what were you uniting for? It was a fight in the power. What power are we fighting? I don't understand. They were about social activism. Kent State has a rich history in social activism. Oscar Ritchie was the first African-American professor to teach in the state of Ohio. It has actually been mentioned that the first collegiate chapter of the NAACP started at Kent State University. The suggestion, history says, the suggestion to take Black history, which started out as a Black History Week, I believe, and to expand it to Black History Month came from Kent State University, the Black United Students of Kent State University. And I'm on this campus like, I don't know all of that. I don't think I want to be involved in all of that. I didn't know any better, I didn't know any different, because I was a product of my environment, and my environment was not African American. My environment was predominantly middle class, white, Caucasian, okay? Something happened that changed my life. I met an African American whose name was Robert Prince Madison Jr. When I was 18 years old, I was on a path to become an architect. I knew when I was 10 years old I wanted to become an architect. And so I met, when I was 18, the most successful African-American architect in the nation, arguably in the world. His name was Robert Madison. 30 minutes down, or up 77, East 30th and Euclid in Cleveland. And I met him, I would say through God's providence, when I was 18. And he said to me, he was in his 70s, by the way. He was about 75. He's in his 90s now, and he still goes to work every day at 9 o'clock. This brother has redesigned Cleveland. Every major thing that has been designed in Cleveland, his firm has touched. He became my friend, he became my mentor, he became my employer. He became an input source of thousands and thousands and thousands of thousands of choices that positively affected me and allowed me to think differently and allowed me to understand that I could have different choices in life. He's a product of Cleveland. He was graduated intentionally early from college in Cleveland because at that time, African Americans were not seen as valuable professionals. You had blue-collar jobs, you worked down at the dock. And so since they couldn't legally prohibit him from attending college, they decided to graduate him 2 years earlier than he would have graduated so that he would be out in the profession without knowledge and therefore not be hireable and therefore end up at the dock while the others end up. So he consciously chose to teach himself for 2 years what they refused to teach him. He got accepted into Howard University, graduated top of his class, went to Harvard University, graduated top of his class in Harvard University, and couldn't get a job because his skin was too dark. He went to war and was part of the Buffalo Soldiers. He has a Purple Heart of Valor. He speaks 3 fluent different languages. He was actually trained by Walter Gropius, who at the time was the most successful architect in the world in France. He did all of that, came back to the United States, and couldn't get a job because his skin was too dark. So he decided to start his own firm along with his brothers. And that firm has transformed Cleveland, it has transformed this nation, and he's done work all over the world. And so he was a pivotal person for me. Why did I graduate first as the first African American to get a master's degree from Kent State College of Architecture? It wasn't because I'm super smart. It wasn't because I'm really good looking, although I find that helps. It was because I had this guy in my life, and he gave me something that is necessary that I cannot manufacture enough of on my own, and that is belief. If you have the audacity to dream your next level, more than likely the first person that's going to tell you you can't actually achieve that is going to be yourself. We're wonderful at rationalizing. And rationalizing, an oversimplification of rationalizing simply means to tell oneself a rational lie. Okay, we do it all the time. We lie to ourselves all the time. You look good. I need to go on a diet. No. But, did I lose the mic?
You're good.
It says a little battery.
Okay.
I don't need it. So he gave me belief. The power of belief is our behavior springs from our belief. And our behavior over time creates habits. Your habits are what will determine your destiny. You will be a victim in life of your habits. And the most profound thing is we can't manufacture the kind of belief that we need in order to make the conscious choices we need to make to condition our behavior to develop habits to where we can become successful or we can pursue our dreams and goals and aspirations. Not that attaining them is success, but the person you become is a part of the success as you attain, right? That belief, it was critical. It was critical. And so because of him, and because he gave me his belief, and because there are other multiple people in my life that give me their belief, one of the most important principles that I have learned in life, and I got to wrap this up, I always try to introduce myself to my future self. Okay? Look, we've been around for thousands of years. Okay? And more than likely, the issues that we're trying to address today have been around for thousands of years. There's nothing really new under the sun. Word tells us that, right? So the question isn't what are we trying to do, what are we trying to accomplish? It's how are we doing it in a more effective way? How are we doing it in a unique way? People joke around about the tie that I wear, because clearly it's different from most of the ties that you see. And they want to know, is that some new tie? It's not a new tie. It's the same necktie everybody else's neckties are. I just tie it in a different way. I tie it in a more creative way. I tie it in a more innovative way. It's the same tie, right? In life, we're trying to address and solve the same problems, but are we doing it in a creative, more innovative way? Okay? And so when I encourage people to think about the you want to be, the future you, more than likely somebody else is already out there doing you, the future you. Go find them and introduce yourself to them. I found that people who are successful didn't become successful on their own. Somebody somewhere helped them along the way. Therefore, they have a disposition to want to help others. And so if you find that future you and you introduce yourself to them and you ask them, can you help me? They're going to help you. That has been my experience. They're going to help you. And so when I'm at Kent State University, when I'm going out and about, when I'm meeting various people, and when I'm seeing issues of diversity, I recently went through training at Kent State for implicit, explicit bias, microaggression, all of these kinds of things. It was fascinating how diversity is this catchment term for how we are different. How are we different, and how can we celebrate that which makes us different? How can we understand that which makes us different, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The talk that the name of this talk was supposed to be the sameness of difference, or the difference of sameness. We all are pretty much the same, right? And at Kent State University, it's a liberal institution. So we have people there that have every kind of religious belief you can imagine, have every single kind of orientation you can imagine. I learned that, we used to use the analogy LGBTQ, right? There's about 15 more now that exist. Things like cisgender and all these other kinds of terms. And so when I'm at Kent State University, and when I think about my history as an African American, growing up white, meeting Robert Madison, all these kinds of things, and when I see these people, I tend not to look at that which makes us different, but I tend to look at that which makes us the same. Commonality for me is really what success is built on. And so I remember that Christ came not for the folks that were perfect. He came for the downtrodden. He came for the marginalized. He came for the people that were messed up, the people like me, the people that we see every day, the people that walk the campuses of Kent State University. And I refuse to see them as so different that they don't require the love of Jesus Christ. And so you ask yourself the question. So I told you, apparently I'm an African American. Do I really know that? I don't know, right? That's a cultural, societal thing, ethnicity, right? I mean, what percent of African American blood in me actually makes me African American? I have Indian in me. So what percent of blood actually makes me Indian and not African American, right? How much sin does it take for a person to have to where we judge them? How much sin does it take for someone to have to where we won't give them the love of Christ? Right? So we have to go beyond that. We have to go beyond that which makes us different. There's value in understanding that. I get it. But we have to go beyond that, and we have to look at what makes them the same. The same thing for them is the same thing for me. I was born not of my own choices. I was born into a sinful condition. I'm in need of the love of Jesus Christ and a Savior. And if we in this room are all the same in that regard, then anybody that we see, no matter how different they are, we have to know that they were born not by their own choice. And that if they were born into a sinful condition,